The first type of map we're going to look at is making a website or online map. And using Google Maps engine will let you make a map that is fairly easy to create. It's a free service to use and it can be embedded on your own website. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you're logged into your Google account and that you're on your geology project presentation that you've created to plan and prepare and research for this map, because you're going to need this information and you can just copy and paste it directly from what you found. This also allows you to go to mapsengine.google.com. You'll need to type that address in your address bar and press enter, and it takes you to Maps Engine Lite. And this Google service will allow you to collaborate with your teammates as well, and each of you can be responsible for your own part. Now keep in mind, only one person needs to start and create the map first in your team, and then it can be shared with the rest of your team members. You can decide which of your team members is going to do this, or you can each create your own and choose the best one from all of the choices at the end. So we're going to go ahead and click and create a new map, and you'll see that it sets up a basic map that shows land, water, and political boundaries for us. And that's not necessarily what we want for our map. So we're going to change the base map format over here with the triangle. You can see there's the basic standard map. There's also satellite image maps, which shows you the views from satellites that are circling the Earth, satellite photography. And there's also a terrain map. And since we're making a map that might be used by hikers or people that are going to be exploring the wilderness, you'd want the terrain map because it's actually going to give us some topographic information and some 3D rendering of the terrain. You also want to give the map a good title right away before you forget. So this could be called the Calistoga Geological Features Map or the Calistoga Geo Tour. You're going to come up with a good title that's also descriptive about what it is. In this little box here, you can write a brief description of what the map is showing or what it contains. I'm going to save that. And one more step we really need to do is that if you're going to collaborate with your teammates so each one of you can work on your own piece that you're responsible for on the map, you'll want to click this share button right away. Now what this shows you is that the map starts out as a private map. Only the people that are being shared with to collaborate on the map will be able to see it. Right now it's you, the author, the creator of the map, the owner of the map, is the only person who can see it. Now we're not going to change this private setting yet. When we're finished with the whole thing, we want the world to be able to see it and use it. We can set that to public, and that would allow us to put the map on websites or share it with other people with links, for example. But first step is to invite your teammates to collaborate with you. So you would write their names down in the box down below and put a comma after each name. Now you'll have several people to add here. And I'm going to show you what happens if you type a name incorrectly. So right here I typed in another .student, first name, last name, at chscats.com. And you want to make sure they have editing abilities. That means they can change things on the map. They should only be changing the part that they're responsible for. And that way nobody will be erasing or damaging the parts that have already been done by other people. And you want to make sure you notify people via email so they get a link to the map. Now if I click share and save, it's going to give me an error message because this account doesn't exist. So I have to click OK and fix that. That could mean you have a typo or you typed one of the addresses wrong, if you see that. Once you've got your list of collaborators, your teammates, you click share and save, and they'll be able to go to the link and join in with you and edit their parts. Now if we zoom in closer to this map, I'll zoom in over to our Calistoga area, or you can just type the address in the top here and do a search, and that will zoom in for you. And you'll see once we get all the way zoomed in that it is indeed a topographic map. In addition to the 3D rendering of terrain, you can see the elevation lines that are marked there. 400 feet at sort of the base of the valley, and then it goes up 800, 1200, 1600, or 1600 feet. That little apostrophe is the abbreviation for feet. So that's going to help us determine the elevation for each of these sites. So let's say I wanted to add the site that I found here for the Old Faithful Geyser. Well, I can actually search for it and see if they know the location of it in Google. So in this case, it says Tubbs Lane, Calistoga. Keep in mind there's also one in Wyoming. That's the one in Yellowstone National Park. So there's more than one Old Faithful. You have to be careful. So if I click the one in Calistoga, it shows up on the map, and I can then click this place marker to actually add it to the map. And it even found the official website for that address. So if I add it to the map, it's going to make it just a basic red pinpoint. You can change the format of that. Let's say we think that red is not a good color, or we want to use a different symbol. You can choose this little format bucket here, and you can change the color, blue, might be a better example for a geyser than red would be. You can change the shape if you want to. Choose a different shape. So this way you can distinguish between your different sites easily, so you can make sure they all look different on the map. Or you can even choose more icons. So for example, I might want to choose for this one, well, I'd probably save the water for the Napa River and maybe save the mountains for the Oat Hill Mine Trail. So in this case, maybe we just want a blue one that looks like the original pinpoint. We can also make changes to the information. We're going to need to add our additional information to this map. So we'll click on the edit button and go ahead and copy our information from here. So you have to click and select highlight, click and drag to highlight, or press Control A inside the box, that means select all, and then Control C to copy it. And you go where you want to paste it and Control V. Now it looks like kind of funny right now because it's got our old highlighting in there, but that's going to get fixed automatically by the program. Up here you see one more feature. It shows a little picture and says HTTP. That means it's asking for a website address if you want to include an image. So one way we can find images is directly in our Google Docs. You can do insert image, and this will take us to, if we go to search, it could be an upload button, but we want to search for an address. And you can search the Google Images collection, and it says results are only for commercial reuse with modification. Now this is important to keep in mind. It means you can't just go to Google Images and use whatever you want. If we went to Google Images here, so I'll go to Google Images. If I do a search on Google Images for Old Faithful of Calistoga, we get a lot of images here, but you can't automatically use any images you find on the internet because they're copyrighted. The photographer may not give us permission to use them. So in this case, we'd have to use the options button and change our advanced search to go down to usage rights and make it so that you use ones that are free to use or share, or free to use, share, or modify, even commercially. That means even for business purposes. So when you click on that and do an advanced search, you're going to find a much more limited selection, but you should still be able to find some things. If you don't, you can even draw your own picture and upload it, but we'll go over that in a different video. So for the time being, let's go ahead and choose one from our Google Docs. You'll notice these pictures are the same as these now because it's doing the same kind of search. It's finding ones that are only commercial to reuse. So I can right click on a picture and choose copy image URL. That copies the image address, that copies the location. This is a URL when it says HTTP. Now I can go ahead and Control V to paste that in there and click save. Let's add the picture first, then I'll click save. Now when you see the picture show up, it says one of one. You can add more than one image in there. You can make sort of a little slideshow of different images for people to see what that location is like. Now when you click save, it's going to put it onto your map. So now it's on there, and if you need to make changes to it, you can click edit again. Let's say we wanted to add Petrified Forest. Now if you type in Petrified Forest, be careful what you're searching for. There's different locations. Some are in Arizona, some are addresses like street names like Petrified Forest Court or Petrified Forest Lane. Here's the Petrified Forest in Petrified Forest Road, Calistoga. So if we click at that, it actually puts an address location for the Petrified Forest. There's one thing I forgot to do. We want to put the elevation level so that people can tell how high up these things are if they needed to drive there. Maybe they even want to hike there or ride a bicycle. This could be a bike tour that they take. So they'll probably want to know elevation levels. To do this, you'll need to look at these lines and read it like a topo map. So here we have 1,000 feet elevation, and we can see that between the dark lines, it's 200 feet difference. So it goes from 1,000 to 1,200, and it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, or these lighter lines, to get there. So we go 200 feet over the course of 5 lines. So if we do the math there, 200 divided by 5 gives us 40 feet per line. So when we go down from this dark line to a lighter line, we've gone down 40 feet below, in this case because it's going downhill from 1,000 feet. So we have to do 1,000 minus 40, and if I was going to add that address in here, I'll add that location to the map. I can format it and choose a better icon, maybe a tree in this case, to show that it's the Petrified Forest, even though it's been basically turned to stone at this point, not really trees anymore. And we can edit it with starting out with an elevation. And so we found the elevation was 1,000 minus 40. So that's how you're going to go about for each address and find the elevation. In the case of the geyser over here, we would need to add our elevation. So we can edit, add elevation, oops, Let's fix it again. Edit. Gotta make sure our cursor's in there. Elevation. And in this case, when we add our elevation, we can see the dark line right here is 400 feet. So since it hasn't gone up from there, we can just put 400 feet. Now these might not be exact elevations, but when you're using a topographic map, you're basically getting estimates because it's being sliced up into layers. Okay, elevation 400 feet, and then we've got our description. So you're going to go through each site, point of interest on your map, write your description of what it is, what kinds of geological forces are located there, an image, your elevation, and then when you're finished with that whole map, we then have a digital map that can be embedded in a website for people to access online. To do that, you're going to click Share and change Private. You're going to change from private to public on the web. And that will let anybody be able to find this map. It will also allow us to embed the map in a website, but that's something that's going to be saved for a different video.